Hi, welcome to the Side Talkers podcast, where once in a while we all come together with one expert on a topic and we try to come up with one question just like the other events and we talk about it with our expert knowledge because all of us are experts in our fields. Mello with computers, Zach with he, Grinsby with kilts, um, beans, and randomly with marketing. Um, I'm your host, Fake Ravens, and the question is today, is modern marketing too intrusive to the everyday man? And
Yes.
who said no?
I said
Yeah.
no. I'm not hiding anything. I don't care if they see my life.
Well, it's when it comes to that, right? It's not about seeing your life, right? Because I'm not private myself, like I'm displaying my face in front of the internet, which I'm not private in. But there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't matter whether it's private or not, but it still affects you. Like, I saw this breakdown where it was like Google charges $18 for every user's data, right? For every
Yeah.
for their search history and all that, it's like 18.50 per user, and they sell those to companies. Now, it doesn't matter. Like, if you don't care about that, it's fine, right? But what it is it sets it
Depends
up.
on your viewpoint, but continue.
Right. I'm just talking about like from the perspective of someone like Zach and me who don't care about that.
Right.
It's about setting up like the president, right? Like, sure, you don't care about, like, oh, Google saw me look up, the price of corn dogs near my area, right? Who cares? It sets up the precedent that like you're a product when you using like your product, like when you go onto
I
Google and
wouldn't
all
say
that,
product.
you
I'd say
become the
resource.
commodity for market.
I'd say a resource.
Resource, yeah, commodity, yeah. But still, it sets that precedent, and I think that's really toxic, especially with like new and upcoming things like Oculus. I just saw it on Reddit the other day. Someone who's much smarter than me, computers, uh, did a little soft hack on the software and saw that your headset in sleep mode is uh, contacting home, whatever that means, something like that, where it's going into the Oculus servers at random periods during the day.
Zach, do you want? It could be analytics too,
Yeah.
though. There, there's a tendency for anytime anything like that happens, people go like, oh, they're spying on me, or people ascribe like negative things. Where the truth is like a lot of the times, you just need to know, okay, what's going on with this hardware? Are there problems? Getting the logs from things and stuff like that. So there are problems on both sides. On one side, you could actually have something negative like that happening, and because it's non-obtrusive, no one cares. But then you could also have the other side where they're just collecting analytics or using data for innocuous purposes, and yet you have a witch hunt.
I think a good example of like the collecting data is Tesla's. Like, they send back the data for like how you drive and compare it to what the AI would do for self-driving. It's stuff like that, trying to improve their algorithms and stuff. It's probably not anything malicious, like they're recording you whilst you sleep or anything.
Yeah, with the cameras, yeah.
Then again, building Sorry, you go.
Oh, okay. And the thing I was going to say was just that I think that is a big difference between, if we want to go back in history a little bit, how advertising used to work and information collection, data mining, whatever you want to call it, used to work versus now, whereas, maybe somebody bought a car and then someone, has a little clipboard and marks off, Jim bought a car, right? Whereas now it's analytics about every little thing that happens, and the reason you need that amount of data is, pumping it into these deep learning systems that
More
try
data.
to draw trends between what's happening. You want to say, oh well, it seems to me that as soon as this happens, this happens. I can't even think of a specific example, but
This
if
person
you
bought this, that will buy this.
right. So that I think is a little bit of a fundamental shift in the way we view information because of how granular we can get now, where that, never used to exist. Is that fundamentally different, or just a difference in amount? Does that fundamentally change what the word information means from a philosophical viewpoint? I don't think so, but it's definitely a difference in scale.
Randomly, as someone who's like kind of a little bit inside on the industry, do you ever see like targeted ads and stuff and think like what's behind that or anything?
Um, I would say yes. I know the process behind it. I know if I go on LinkedIn or something and I want to make a promoted post, you literally start all these criteria. It's like I want to find people who do this age, they're in this industry, they have this job title. For me, I just think, okay, well, they found that it's relevant to me and it's not wasting my time with stuff that I wouldn't be interested in. I mean, sometimes I'll be looking at a pair of shoes and then I'll get an advert for them later. I'm like, oh, actually, they're on, they've got a good deal now. I can go back. And I think that, people get so scared about online and how much data it collects and everything like that, but that data is already going to be collected. You walk down a street and you're being recorded by CCTV cameras and all that kind of stuff. And if anything, it does. Personally, I think that it kind of stops bad guys as well. If you're scared about what you're going to search online, then it's like a deterrent.
I point to you the movie Minority Report. Do we really want to get to the point where we know exactly what's going on with everybody because it's for the good of society? Yes, that is true. But so here's the thing. It ultimately depends on who's using the information, right? So let's say Google is using information to figure out what kind of cookies I want to buy. Fine, sure. You want to buy more Oreos. Oh yeah, I want to buy more Oreos, so let me go buy a pack of Oreos. The thing about that is then so there's data, and then there's the data about the data. So when did this happen? When did I send the signal that I wanted to buy a package of Oreos? Now they know, well, he's usually hungry around, X time, right? So then multiply that by 1 billion, and you have information not only about the content, not only about, what people do, but the times in which they do it, and you can, basically all I'm trying to say is you can draw conclusions about things from information that you wouldn't normally think you can draw conclusions from. There was a thing that a few years ago where someone they're trying to replace passwords because they're not a super efficient way of doing things. There was a thing where they figured out that by measuring your mouse patterns, right, so how you move your mouse around on your screen, that could hypothetically generate a unique imprint, that only you move your mouse around in a specific way. And so, they could use that to figure out who you are. Or no, okay, let me be specific here, not who you are, but tie you with an ID number. So They wouldn't know, my real name, but they would know, oh, user number 553, whatever. So I guess that would be my only point there is that was not something even conceivable before. So there could be data that's being collected on people now that, like, I think Grimsby was the one that said it, totally innocuous, who cares? But then later it turns out not to be innocuous. Later it turns out, oh, we can actually figure out something fairly personal from that information. And we just don't know that right now. We don't know what we can figure out from what we have. And that'll take time to really do. So that's, I don't know. I'll quit rambling and you guys can think about it. But
The
that's
thing with that is,
what.
I mean, I don't think a lot of companies are, like, the data's already being collected.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, isn't it okay to use that? I mean, marketing is just marketing. It's not, like blackmail anyone or to be like, okay, this person's going to be, well, actually location-wise, maybe. But it's more just like, hey, we want to sell you this thing. And doesn't that just help society and
The
stuff?
people doing the marketing are not going to blackmail anyone with that information. But how do you know that the people doing their marketing is that they're the only people that have access to that information? Zach was talking earlier about, you go online, you download a few scripts from GitHub, etc. Script kiddies have existed since the 90s. It's pretty easy to get into some things. So just because the original intent of information was to be used for purpose A, that doesn't necessarily mean that someone else isn't going to use it in a different manner. That has happened all the time. For example, the original intent of, I think, the Social Security number was not supposed to be this, and you guys are from the UK, so I don't know, but in the US,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But in the U.S., the original intent of the Social Security number was not to be this, identifier for everything. It was supposed to be, just the number for the Social Security system, right? And that was it. It wasn't supposed to be, you make a bank account, all of these different things that it's used
Credit.
for now. So that's the thing is, intent for information can change, but the information doesn't go away. So, and this is, I'm going to go super dark for just a second here, but it just popped in my head. Say, for example, right around World War II, there were registries, I think, I could be wrong, I think it was for store products. I don't remember what they were for, but the point was you would put your religion on this piece of paper, and it wasn't from the German government, right? It wasn't from anyone except those stores, except it turned out that then, World War II rolls around, and that's a very useful piece of information for very evil people. So, but that was just marketing data, right? It was innocuous. It was totally fine until it wasn't. So the point is we don't know what data is being collected right now that in the future could be used not by the original marketing company, but by either someone else or someone that the marketing company is fine with handing that data over to. Various governments. There are certain companies that cooperate more with governments than others, and I think there's something called the Canary Law. I haven't really done a whole lot of research, but the point is just because one person collects data doesn't mean others aren't going to use it, and that's where it gets very murky.
If data, I mean, if I just used like a metaphor of data being a pen, and there was one
Yeah.
person who decides to stab someone with that pen, and then there's someone else who just uses it to write. And in that way, isn't it? Like, it wouldn't be the person who writes who also uses the data. It wouldn't be their fault, kind of thing. And marketing is
Yeah.
just a tool, I would say. I mean, it would be the fault of the data collectors. And sure, marketing does collect data as well. But wouldn't it be
I
the
think
people
the
who
issue with that
use it for bad?
is the blame goes to the person who did the stabbing, but we also have to take in mind if we just didn't give them the pen, it wouldn't have happened. And marketing is something we could actually live without to reduce the risk of someone, say, getting stabbed or, territorial. Not territorial.
That's my job.
Whatever. Yeah.
Speaking like getting stabbed, and like you said, there's a lot of stuff is like viewed as innocuous, right? There was, like, I'm reaching far back into my brain, but way back when there was a story where this woman had gone on to all these websites and come out secretly on the internet anonymously, and then it was led way back to her Facebook, and one day she's scrolling through Facebook with her family member sitting over her shoulder, and there's targeted ads for gay cruises. And she had to come out, and when she came out, she was kicked out of her house.
Another one was the story of Target and the young woman who was pregnant. Because of all the data collection, Target corporate was able to figure out that she was pregnant before even she knew that. Because of the patterns of food she was buying, that kind of thing. And so then they got a piece of mail to their mailbox, advertising maternity clothes. And the very conservative dad, gets the mail and like, what is this? All this stuff. And that's a very innocuous. It's just using information they were able to figure out, and then so these things can snowball. I think.
So I've got a very relevant example to about three-fifths of us here. Some of us here live in the UK, and in the UK there was a law.
Nobody guess who.
There's legislation currently in Parliament, I think, or to be passed, or has been passed. I can't really remember. Basically, it's a large-scale porn blocker to stop children from watching porn on different sites. But the issue is that if you want to be an adult and watch porn by yourself or with someone else, I don't judge. You have to register with those sites, and I don't know if you know this, but porn sites are not exactly notorious for their data security. So it is actually incredibly easy for someone, let's say a random hacker, to go in, let's say break into Pornhub, for example, steal your personal details, or just steal your own personal preferences on the site because they logged those, easily blackmail you, or just use your information from your credit card, which you have stored on the site as well, to just take money out of your account.
I have a way around that. So there are things, I don't know if the networks...
Of course you do.
But
NordVPN?
Peer-to-peer networks. There's one called ZeroNet, which is essentially, it's the internet, but everything is hosted on pretty much any computers that are connected to it. You do consent, and you can choose what you host on your computer, but it means they can't take it down because there's no central thing to block. Everything's hosted on multiple devices. So it's that. That, or, deep web, dark web, just use a Tor browser. You do know...
Peer-to-peer in terms of communication, like sending messages peer-to-peer without a third party being able to watch.
Oh yeah, doesn't Google have some sort of like it's not tapped into the internet. It's like some sort of network between, like, I think it's like a third of Google employees have access to it, and it's like they share code through that and all that. I feel like I've heard something like that before, where it's...
I don't know.
It wouldn't be about.
I always think of Fire Chat from a few years ago in China. There was this Fire Chat messenger that was basically Bluetooth. So just whoever you had around you, and they couldn't stop that because it wasn't going to the internet. It was just phone to phone, passed along from person to person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or torrents, because everything's broken up into little bits and then hosted among all the users.
Randomly, I don't know like what you do for work, but when you because you say you've been in marketing for how long?
6 years.
6 years. So do you work like on a team, working with different clients, or do you work with like one company and provide like advertise one product or like a series of products?
I work with one company and then yeah, they've got like 100 products, so it's like
So when you were
sorry.
So when you were like applying for that job, did you specifically look out for like what is available, or did you want to market something that back up? Like a lot of things, people are, I'll only sponsor what I actually use, which is common now when you come to like influencers and all
Trying to
that.
put morals into business.
Yeah.
For me, it was just trying to get out of my old job because that was more healthcare, and basically it was a smaller business, so I had to do a lot more of the. People get weirded out when I talk about it, but the part of the company was training doctors on cadavers. So I was kind of sick and tired of editing those videos.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So
Zach,
yeah, I
look
went
out for the
for
next video.
sometimes I'll still go into like my old Dropbox or whatever, and like an image will come up, and I'll just be like, okay, like PTSD.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah, I went for
actually that's a perfect example. If someone accidentally got into your Dropbox and saw just a
Dropbox
bunch
is
of
not
dead
secure.
people, what would they think about you, right? So there's nothing, you didn't do anything, but things get misconstrued. So that's actually a perfect example of data being
Dropbox isn't
possibly
that
misused.
and I
secure, but
could
I think
delete this.
anyone getting into another person's Dropbox is smart enough to watch a video and see the difference between medical and murderer.
Yeah, okay, true. I was just,
Yeah, no, I get your
but
point.
yeah,
I mean, like, there's also, it's not just, on the internet. Like, I feel like,
Email or something.
like,
Huh?
I feel like,
Okay. Sorry about that. Thought I muted myself,
cut
but
that
apparently
bit
I didn't.
out. So, I feel like we made a huge transition in like the 90s and the 80s when we got the internet between advertisements banking on public stupidity and advertisements banking on interest. Because like you look at old ads in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and all that, you're like, smoking makes the baby come out better. Coffee is good for the heart. Like you see all this stuff, and it's based off the public lacking knowledge on the product. But that's not the case anymore. With the internet, it's like in the information age, everyone knows the dangers of products. It's advertised, whether it be witch hunt or,
No, not everyone knows. There are still a lot of people who are uneducated. Mainly
yes,
rural
there,
America.
that,
And
Could I
Wow.
please?
also make the
I
point
feel
Sorry,
like this
you
is a
go ahead,
really
sorry.
the
great
people putting
transition.
out the ads might also, at that time, wouldn't have known that much about smoking giving you cancer either. So we can't apply 21st century knowledge to, well, would still be the same century. Anyway, point being, we can't apply current knowledge to, oh, well, they should have done this because they wouldn't have
but it was
had
still
all of that information.
unsubstantiated claims. There's still unsubstantiated claims.
But
Should I just make a point?
For us now. Sure, we can learn from the mistakes if we keep putting our standards to those standards. We should just work on moving forward instead.
Just a small point. Some modern businesses rely on the customers not knowing or knowing very little about their product. Specifically, just to segue into something else completely different, a little something called MLMs, or multi-level marketing businesses. We have some here in the UK, Life, Avon, can't think of any other ones.
There's a brand new one in the United States. It's not that new. It's a couple years old. But Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, who...
She got on Netflix
What?
As well.
Oh, yeah, it's on Netflix. If you've never heard of it, they carry such products as vaginal healing medical eggs, which you put inside your body and have like a 30% chance of giving you a terrible infection, and scented candles, like the candle branded, "This smells like my vagina." That there is a candle Gwyneth Paltrow sells called "This Smells Like My Vagina."
There's something
Why?
could have brought up, which is I believe they had a product that advertised to advertise that you wouldn't get corona, basically, is what they were pushing.
I mean,
There's
I can
also
understand
vampire
fear-mongering, but what would be the possible marketplace for Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle?
Sims.
Well, randomly.
I mean, Germany
weird
maybe, but...
New agey people that take too many supplements. Trust me, I've met a lot of them.
Essential oils, yeah.
Yeah,
I just use
all
this
that.
for smell.
I
I don't use it for like
Because I
cancer.
don't get enough vitamin D. So.
Yeah.
Randomly, what is the market for vagina scented candles?
Thinking about the person
What?
who had to like find the right scent. It's like, how would you even? I don't want to.
Science.
I'm not gonna.
We have the technology.
Can you imagine the scientist, the poor person that got that job?
In fairness, this
The
science can
researchers?
be useful. Because I'm pretty sure the scent thing is like the same science they apply to like Impossible meat. Because I think it's Impossible mince. It might be a different brand. But
Oh, yeah,
they
would they
try
do,
to
like,
simulate.
bacteria?
The protein that bleeds.
No,
Yeah.
they try
Yeah.
and get the exact same experience as you would grilling normal mince as their mince. So they put in like flavoring, smells. They have a person to like make the sizzle just right for when you put it on the grill. So it's useful.
How did they test for accuracy?
They cook actual meat.
I'm slightly interested. Did they have like test
R&D.
groups just crowded around Gwyneth?
Gwyneth
No.
Paltrow just like on some stirrups. Like,
No, not that. Okay, I thought you were still talking
No,
about
no,
the
no.
burger.
You just get a rotten fish and then put them side by side.
You legitimately disturbed me.
God.
Ravens, I question your psychology. It's like, of all the marketing questions.
I'm telling you.
Well,
these
it's a
American-
product where's the demand, like basic economics. You know?
So the thing is, right? My main problem with MLMs isn't that they try to
Can you try to explain
advertise.
MLM to people who don't know?
Oh, sorry. An MLM is basically the
upside down funnel scheme.
slightly difficult to explain. It's very similar to a pyramid scheme. They never admit it's a pyramid scheme, but it's very similar. Essentially, you convince recruit people to distribute products, or you distribute products yourself, and they in turn try to get people to recruit people to distribute products, and they distribute products themselves.
So
The main problem with it. No, sorry. You want to say something?
No, continue. There's a big hole in that, but I'll point that out once you're done.
The main problem with MLMs is that the point isn't to sell products to other people. That's not where the distributors make the most money. The way the distributors make the most money is by recruiting other people in, because you get
And then buying their stuff.
a cut of their profits, and you get a discount on the material, on the product you can buy for yourself, distribute yourself. But the thing is, if you do it, let's say each person recruit 5 people, and those 5 people recruit their own, and those 5 people recruit 5 people of their own. You can only do that for about 11 cycles
13.
before you include everyone on the goddamn...
It's 13.
Hmm.
We
Oh, it's 13. Oh, apologies.
No, you said what I was going
If we were selling like a product like a vagina scented candle, and we were in a pyramid scheme, which is the MLM. The thing is, the main idea is that the main person on top produces all this stock at super cheap, and then distributes it and run. Right? Like they just like pile all the money into my accounts, and then they're gone.
Well, not
On a
always.
low level.
I feel like there's a significant difference
Well,
between
you would also have
advertising to a customer
you would run
and
out
then
of your market.
advertising to your employees.
So
Hmm.
the people at the top don't actually
Like-
need to run. Because there have been MLMs or pyramid schemes who have been audited before in America. I don't know about UK, but I know about America. Who just got away with everything. Pretty much no business was
There are
stopped.
loopholes.
So
But it's a little funny to see MLMs because you put the marketing in the hands of a soccer mom with 2 kids who has a Facebook profile.
they actually target Hispanic groups more from what I've heard. Weirdly.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
I
They've
don't know.
there was a soap opera. I can't remember what it was called, but they did a live promotion within the episode where they effectively said that Herbalife is incredibly good. It will save you all the help you through the day. It will help you face all the life challenges. And this was all within the context of the episode. This was not entirely certain how I feel about modern marketing strategies,
Sure that's illegal.
but that was very, very manipulative, in my opinion.
Hmm.
I'm not sure of the whole like legality.
I
of
Yeah, that's
advertising
like
that way.
This is probably beyond the scope of what we want to talk about on this podcast, but I think what it really boils down to is access versus use of information. Anyone could have the possibility to, do the research and say, oh, if I eat this rock, it's not going to cure cancer, But, the people they're marketing to, they're not going to do that. They're not going to go and Google it. So the thing is there's this discrepancy between who has access to information, which is everyone now, and who actually will use that to their benefit to, do the research,
Right.
which
I was
is
gonna.
a much smaller, if not non-existent, set of people.
I was gonna bring that up, like an example of like where it's the information they don't care, where they're just receiving information from the marketers. There was this Facebook group of people. I may be totally wrong because I have a terrible memory, but it was this Facebook group of these moms who banded together under this one company, and in that company they were sharing advice not only about the product but about other things, and it's maybe I'm mixing up stories, but there was this group of moms who had children with autism, and the moms believed, because using their Facebook mom science, that there was a parasite giving their children autism, and so what the moms did
I heard about
was
this.
they gave the children bleached enemas, and then when the inner lining of their lower intestine would come out of the child with all the blood, they'd be like, there is the parasite. Like, we've got it, boys. Like, and I feel like as, I'm looking at you randomly, as someone who works in marketing, you have a responsibility to...
I hope you're not saying that she has a responsibility to perform bleach enemas. Because I don't think that... I'm really hoping that's not in the confines of your job. Really hoping.
No, but there's a responsibility when it comes to marketing, because look at my
Well, that
country,
goes
America.
back to
People are
exactly
dumb.
what we were talking about previously, right? Where you were talking about surveillance and who has randomly you brought up the idea of, it's a pen, right? So who has it versus who uses it. That's the same thing where and I would say, and I don't want to go into this whole argument because I actually have kind of different thoughts on it, but that's the same argument people say about guns. They'll say, oh, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Whereas what, someone else would be saying would be information didn't do that harm. The information, the person who decided to act on it and open up the bottle of bleach did that harm. So I think that's a very similar argument. I wouldn't really argue one side or the other. I think, it's probably somewhere in between. But that, I think, is the thing, is what we really want to do is assign blame somewhere. Is it the marketer? Is it the person who uses the information? Is it the way they're doing the marketing? It's like there are a lot of different roads you could go down with that. And I think the problem is people wanting to pick one, saying, oh, it's all this. And then someone else is saying, oh, no, it's all this, where truth is everybody kind of chipped in a little bit, It's like that old story of stone soup. No one has anything to eat, and so they all, one person brings a potato, the other brings a carrot. I think it's like that with blame. It's, there's plenty to go around, I think.
So a nice solution to that is educating people. Yeah.
But will they use it?
But we don't want to get political on here.
Also, with the guns thing, I just want to say, guns might not kill people, but they heavily increase the rate that you can kill someone.
I don't know, man. I know karate, so like.
So you're saying that you, as yourself, are able to kill en masse at the equivalent rate of someone with an assault rifle?
Yes, my rate of karate chop is faster than the M1 saw.
No one. I think
that's very impressive.
Might have a problem with that. No. Yeah, but I didn't want to go into that actual argument, but I see similar threads there. Was all I was saying.
So, randomly, when you were like deciding to go into this career, right, get your education and all that, did you consider any of this, or is it just like going with the flow?
It was kind of like what I enjoy doing. Just I like marketing. The psychology behind it is pretty cool. When you find but it sounds really like not people-y, more just about money. But when you find a campaign and then it works, you find the perfect advert and the perfect messaging, and it gets a lot of traction because you're just like, okay, cool, I've hit my mark, kind of thing. And you're just like, cool, I've done my job. I would say there is some kind of ethical thought behind my own career. My last company had a it just suddenly went, hold on, this is going to be on YouTube. Will she ever find this? Because she was like proper crazy. She was the kind of person who wanted me to market to old people and them to donate their bodies to science, kind of thing. She wanted us to go to like a funeral home thing.
Like physical marketing, like go there with a sign like, give us your bones, give us your like.
Just to make you feel a little better, we only get about 20 views usually, so you're pretty safe.
You get 20 views?
Our analytics are terrible.
Woohoo!
Yeah, and then it was kind of, I would say marketing does have like a lot of manipulative people just because of the nature of what we do. Not everyone, not me. I'm great. But
I'm great too.
I it really is person to person. Sometimes you get those power hungry people who just they want to market to old people who don't really know any better, and I mean I just think those kind of people are evil.
That's not necessarily a
The
sin of
vast
marketing.
majority are just and get their businesses to do well, people's jobs and all that, getting them to keep them. I don't know.
You get that in everything.
You
That's
don't
not
you
just
don't believe in
marketing.
like
Any job can have those types of people. That's not a sin of marketing or anything.
you don't,
I mean,
you don't believe in like
sorry. Oh, I
I
mean,
was gonna say you don't believe
One person at a time.
you don't believe you don't believe in like the Nuremberg argument of following orders.
I'm not.
sorry, I didn't hear that.
You don't believe in like the Nuremberg argument of following orders.
What's the new
So
I'm gonna
wait,
shoot
are
it.
you wait? Are you trying to
Throwing out
compare her to
references
the
without-
Nazis? Because
Well,
that's a fairly bold claim.
Well, I mean, nice uniforms. No,
The character
I mean like
cannons.
and like where it's to the point where it's once again innocuous. You know, where all I do is I change the font on advertisements, and these advertisements, I don't know, put Somalian kids in working camps, right? Like, it's not my fault, but like it's I had my role in it. You don't believe in that randomly when it comes to like that kind of marketing?
Oh no, 100%. I mean, I can't say for anyone else, but I would not put something out there that would harm someone. Wait. So that old people thing, the whole old people campaign, I was the only marketing person in that company, and that was the managing director who was telling me to do that, and I just flat out refused. That's one thing. We didn't actually go to old people's homes and all that kind of stuff, but that
Oh,
was
okay.
like,
Could have been kept.
so that was like the plan to do that, and I just went, I'm not going to do that. And she couldn't fire me because she didn't have anyone else, so it was fine. So I can see how some people would say, oh, I just sent out the poster. It's not my prerogative or anything like that, you know? I guess it's just person to person.
I think there's a considerable difference between trying to show the public that a product exists and is high quality, or try to provide just a general advertisement that something exists and it is something you may want, compared to trying to manipulate someone into thinking something or doing something that is generally against their
That's
better
daily life
for
for a lot of.
better judgment.
That's not even
We
like forever.
we should start doing that. Real talk is good for you. Real talk is good for the soul. Real talk keeps
It
the
will
doctors
cure
away.
your cancer. No,
I will say
Just
that in history, and I mean, you said something about the was the bleach thing in England?
I think that was America.
Was that in America?
I think it's,
No, I think it was here in the U.S., wasn't it?
Yeah.
Raymond?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
In general, from what I've learned about marketing, is that in the US they do generally fearmonger. It's more like, hey, if you don't do this, really bad stuff will happen. Whereas generally the message in the UK is educational. Certainly for where I've worked, it's more like, this is why you really need this. Whereas from what I've seen in America, it's more like, if you didn't get this, like it's more negative.
I feel like that comes down to
You
it,
think
even
that's
in
a
like.
cultural thing, maybe?
Well, I mean, like, I feel like that's just in our blood, right? As Americans, because, when we established the free market and late stage capital, blah, 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 blah. Even in, like, our political campaigns, right? You get stuff like, you know, I don't know. If you don't vote for this guy, the Lib Dems are going to win and ruin this country, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas, you know, I feel like in the UK, it's like I've seen advertisements for politicians, and it's more like I will do this, this, and that, and these are my policies. Where it's there's a huge breaking point, you know.
I think you're
Yeah, I mean,
overestimating how
even in
organized politics
messaging.
over here is. They're all still idiots.
I think there's also I don't want to get like Americans are all evil, but
I mean,
I think your ads are definitely targeted towards you specifically because I think for at least maybe not you specifically, but a large portion of your population respond to aggression or respond to this idea that
What was that?
you have to be better than someone else. This superiority thing.
So
Patriotism.
those types of
seems like
emotions actually stem weirdly from fear.
Okay, I would very much, I would push back. You just kind of coyly said patriotism there, Ravens. Like I would push back that that definitely exists, and it's definitely, I mean, that's the part of
Defend my property,
culture that kind of pisses me off sometimes. But I never really pointed that as an American thing as much as it is more time-based and more of like especially the internet, you know, where when you have more people that are able to get in conflict with one another on whatever it be, you know, politics or what kind of cookie to buy. I don't know why I keep talking about cookies. I was just trying to
making me hungry,
product, man. But yeah, so when you have a possibility of more people being in conflict, there seems to be, and this is, you know, just from my own experience, has nothing to do with no backup at all, but it seems to kind of trend that way, whereas before, you know, there wasn't that open, you know, space for people to even have a possibility to either help or hurt each other. They were just kind of isolated, it seemed. I don't know. That's just... what do you see from actually being in the industry? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to... never mind. I was just going to ask a completely unrelated question.
What's it about vagina scented candles?
Dude.
No.
Not
Why do you keep on bringing that up? I was just going to say, do you think there's a significant difference between nationalism and patriotism? Or do you think they're the same thing?
That's an interesting question.
We have to ask it on Real Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really could be a Real Talk question to go hours on, but I would say they're related but not exactly the same, because I would call nationalism, I would define it as
definition, relativism.
I'm sorry, it's the way I think. Trying to because okay, well, that's a different argument, but I would say that nationalism would be like trying to say that a particular group of people from a country have these characteristics, right? So they, you know, America, for example, you know, freedom, independence, etc. That's pretty obvious.
I think.
Whereas patriotism is like loving those aspects of things without question, which I think is very dangerous, and leads to angry people holding flags. But that's a different.
I think like the main difference is nationalism leads to like pride in any nation state. Like, you know, I don't know, Zach could be prideful in the UK, or he can be prideful in Europe, or he can be prideful in, I don't know, the northwest eastern hemisphere, right? But I think
But my
patriotism,
question is, oh, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
think patriotism lines up with like being a patriot of like of the UK, like being the patriot model citizen of and that's the patriotism of that, you know?
I would actually disagree. I think it's the other way around, just based on the connotations associated with. Because I don't know about you, but patriotism to me seems more like a general love of the culture or landscape you live in. While
Now you're
nationalism
gonna say
seems like
hero.
the complete disregard of any other culture or
I don't think it's landscape. I
landscape
think
outside
it's
of
I don't
your.
know
of
though.
your
Are you
government.
loving your surroundings, or are you loving the government that enables you to peacefully live within those
I don't
surroundings? I
think
think
it's love is the
that's the
right
thing
word.
is,
Peacefully.
are
I think
well, okay,
pride, honor
relatively peacefully,
in like
depending on where
history.
we're talking about. But
I think it's pride and honor in
Can
like
you
the
be an
history of your
anti-governmental
country.
patriot?
You know, like I'm an American. This gives me like means of better than everyone.
Right.
That type of stuff.
Speaking of anti-authority, I'm going to make an executive decision to wrap up. Thank you guys for joining us on the podcast. Thank you to Randomly for joining us. And if you'd like to hear more of me or any of these guys, maybe not my own, you can find us on our YouTube channel, which is will be hosted, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you find your podcast. You can join us on an event, which is hosted in the VR platform, Allspace VR, at Wednesdays and Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
but you
And
do not need a VR headset to join if you
Right.
just have a PC.
And you can find us on our Twitter at Real Talk All, and on our brand new subreddit at Real Talk All, or r/Real Talk All. That's it. Adios.
Toodaloo.